There's that.
Alright, time now 6:30, so I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, November 24th meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. And the first thing on our agenda is the continuation of compliance hearing to verify the fulfillment of conditions from the 7/14/15 conditional approval to expand Tilton School's athletic facility to include 6 new tennis courts at 21 Pillsbury Lane in the Village Residential District. And I think we read over everything last time, and there were two issues left. One was the issue with the lighting. I have a letter here from, well, I have the letter that you sent to, I believe, the selectmen. I spoke with the chair of the select board today. The selectmen are satisfied with the arrangement that Tilton School has made with the neighbors. So that's been put to bed. The other thing was the plantings, and I had thought Mr. Jones was going to be here,
Yeah, that's what I heard.
but apparently he isn't. And I think, Peter, I have not had an opportunity to see the plantings you did yesterday, because I was in Portsmouth most of today, and I don't know what time it was done yesterday. I went by at one point yesterday. I know that Eric has seen them, and I know that Dari has seen the additional plantings. How many additional arborvitae did you put in?
We put in 3 arborvitaes,
Okay.
covering the gap where there was marginal coverage. So even though I thought that we had satisfied the arrangement, I went ahead and planted those 3 anyway. And I brought a diagram.
Good.
Mr. Jones is here.
Well, good. So, what,
Peter,
Howard, how are you?
good yourself?
Good.
Good.
We just started,
Nice.
and I was explaining to the planning board that we had originally planted these 4 arborvitaes here blocking the transformer.
Yep.
And then two days ago, we planted 3 additional to cover this last gap right here
Yesterday, yep.
for the arborvitaes. So I've not actually been on Mr. Jones's property, but from the vantage point of the parking lot here, the coverage is pretty good. The yellows represent those 7 deciduous trees that we planted as well. That's the extent of the plantings that we've taken.
Mr. Jones, would you like to make a
Well,
comment?
I would like to comment anyway. The 4 trees that you planted around the electrical box,
Yep.
the electrical box sits like this. 2 of them trees are here, 2 of them are back here. I have a perfect view of the electrical box. Just saying, okay? I mean, I get the point, eventually they'll fill in and I won't have to look at it. But it's a perfect view, I look right at it. Sitting in my backyard, I look right at that electrical box. The parking lot is still very plain to see. You know, the 3 little arborvitaes really aren't gonna stop me from seeing the parking lot. Maybe in 10 years, but for right now, it's really not. I'm assuming you're gonna put a fence up around the tennis court, right? Correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, the other part that's pertinent here is the fencing is not, the posts are up, but the screening on the fencing is not up yet. So that will actually block off all except for 31 feet of the parking area.
And can you point on that, where that 31 feet will be, that won't be blocked by the fence?
So these 1, 2, 3 spaces, because the fencing runs like this to right here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And what are we looking at for fence, Peter?
It's a 10-foot high or 12-foot high black chain link fence with a black windscreen.
So it's gonna be blocked, totally.
It's going to be blocked. Well, it'll be partially, I mean, you'll be able to see it through. It's designed to be a windscreen. It's not black plastic, but it's that screening that you get on tennis courts.
Okay.
So, I mean, from the angle, it should be pretty black. from this direction, and it's screening all the way around. So it's this 31 foot of spaces that we were trying to mitigate. That'll be in the view.
Something like that, if you want to see. That's what the windscreen looks like on the tennis fence.
Oh, yeah, yep,
Except it'll be black.
yeah.
I think blue or black. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up for the board to comment. I have not seen the new plantings, so I'd like to hear some input from Eric who has, and from Dari, since you've seen them.
Sure. I went up yesterday morning before, on my way to work, and they were just installing them, and so I was like, oh, they must be doing something there. Granted, one of them was, they were still leaning, but I went back this morning, and they were installed and completed, and, you know, it was hard for me to visualize, I have to visualize what a fence is gonna look like there too, so, but, I mean, you know, as, Mr. Jones just said, you know, it's gonna take a couple of years, I think, for it to fully, grow in, you know, over time, but that was my, I mean, I'm afraid, but that's gonna be with any new plantings that you put in.
When they put them in, did you get any information about, usually it's kind of late to be planting them? I
Yep,
thought.
it's not too late. We had actually talked with Dunlap, it was installed by Dunlap Landscaping.
Ah, okay. So,
Mr. Jones, when you put your arborvitae in, how big were they?
Mine are 12 footers,
Is that what they were when you put them in?
yes. I'm pretty sure they were 10 to 12.
And what's the size of the ones that you put in?
I have no idea.
Well, I know what you put, I can see what you put in, I can see what you put in, but it's hard for me to,
Ours are up on the slope a
yeah,
little
they
bit,
are.
so I don't think they're 12 footers.
I don't think they are
I'd say
either.
they're between 8 and 10 footers, but the trees are actually much higher, the tops are much higher than what Howard planted, just simply because there's a 4 or 5
I
foot
frankly
rise.
didn't see where your deciduous plantings were gonna help at all.
Mhm. Well, we knew that it was never the intent for the beginning for the deciduous trees to play a role in blocking them, but we had them available, so we staggered them like this with the idea of creating more of a screen through the long view of this. It's the arborvitaes which are providing the screening piece.
Do you have plans to plant more than the 3 that you planted, other than the ones around the electrical box, because they really don't do much to block the parking?
No, we have no plans to do that because there's adequate screening right now.
I'm gonna open it up to Mr. Jones again. Do you feel it's adequate screen?
I don't see where it's adequate screening, however, I suppose it's all in how you look at it. I mean, if I'm sitting on my back deck, I can look clearly to the parking lot, anytime. You know what I mean? It's not, it's, and again, we don't have a fence around the tennis court at this time either. So, I mean, I can see the post of the tennis court, but I can see the parking lot plain as day. It is what it is. You know, over time, I'm sure it will, you know.
Well, it's pretty hard in the middle of the winter, or the beginning of the winter too, for me to visualize it, and I think for the rest of the planning board too. It's just unfortunate that it took this long for them to get planted, like 2 days before the meeting.
Yeah, sometimes I don't have control over those pieces. I was here a month ago with this also, so
No, I know.
But you were here a month ago with that, but what did you do a month ago?
we had the 4 arborvitaes planted around the transformer.
Mm-hmm.
The tennis court screening, I was hoping was going to be installed by that point. When I found out that it wasn't going to be installed, I decided, I mean, we're ready to put this issue to bed. So I called up on Friday and said I need 3 more arborvitaes. Even though I think, I'm reasonably sure that the screening the tennis courts will take care of the problem, and I'm trying to put this to bed.
Comments?
Yeah, so I did go and look today, and, I do feel, that, the additional arborvitae's definitely improved the situation. The thing for me that really struck me was, now that the poles are up around the tennis court, it was much easier for me to visualize where the screening would be. And because when I had, at my previous visits, I thought, hey, gosh, they have this front corner of the tennis court, the parking lot pretty well screened, but all these back spots are not adequately screened. But now seeing the placement of the tennis court screen, I think that problem is solved. I think regarding that front portion of the parking lot and the electrical box, there's no question that, if you're not that I went and stood in Mr. Jones's property, but sort of using, saying, well, if he can see to there, then if you're standing there, if I can see him, he can see me, kind of thing. So I went up in the parking lot, and yeah, you can see Mr. Jones's house, and you can see some of the windows. So it's certainly true if he said, well, if I look out from my window, I can tell that there's a parking lot there, and if I'm looking, I can tell that there's an electrical box. And I guess it raises the question of what the optimal solution is, and I think, you have to ask yourself, if so many plants were put in that all those pieces were screened today, then you have to question whether you'd have a severely overgrown landscaping installation within a few years. It is pretty dense in there with plants, and I think I guess it's a matter of determining what's the best solution. Would a planting that was so dense that it completely screened everything now, would that really be a good thing 5
No,
years
and I
from
think-
now, or
and-
a year from now even?
And I think arborvitae is known for being very fast growing and being very dense. So,
I agree, within time, there's no doubt in my mind, within time, I won't even see that parking lot. I know with the 6 I put in there, I can't see the front of it now, you know what I mean? But I had to put them in myself so I didn't have to look at it. That was my point to begin with, you
yeah,
know?
and, that it is what it is. I mean, you chose to put those
And
in,
exactly, you're absolutely right.
okay? And, I'm not trying to be flip, but you did choose to put those in, and that is blocking a great deal of the
Yes.
situation.
Yes, and you know what, over time they will grow. I mean, we all know they'll get wider, they'll get taller. I appreciate the effort that they put forward, you know what I mean? I'm really not, I just didn't wanna look at it completely, a parking lot. I don't wanna look off my back deck, that's my back deck. I don't wanna sit there and look at a parking lot, you know what I mean? And it was discussed in the beginning, and I wanted to, make sure that it got taken care of. As far as I'm concerned, over time it's definitely gonna fill in, I mean, I'm not asking these guys to jump through hoops here.
And I think they've made a good faith effort, and, when we came in tonight, well, as I say, I haven't seen the latest plantings, that's why I asked both Eric and Dari to give their input. But I think from what I've heard, that they've put out a best effort to accommodate and to meet the conditions that we set forth.
Yes, I agree.
So I'd like to hear other comments from the planning board.
My other comment was that, I have driven by there at night too, because, part of the other side of this is the nighttime use of the field, because there's lights and there's gonna be nighttime use of the field, so, I drove in with, my high beams on and did like an arc, and obviously where there's no fence right now, I could see your house and you could probably read a book from my high beams, but, noticing where the three, because I did it right before tonight's meeting for the last time, but I had done it on one other occasion, those 3 arborvitae's did block more light, and I think I was looking at it more from the nighttime issue, because I think also, you know, it's a visibility thing, but I'm sure that the cars are also a concern, headlights coming into your front yard, but I think that most of the time when that field's gonna be done, you're not necessarily gonna be out there at that time of year. You know, I mean, I know he has a nice fire pit in the backyard, so he might be, but I think it, you know, I think that the light, you know, light pollution from cars, that would be starting from those first 3 or 4 spots. Well, that whole side, but the fence, I think, is gonna block out, the windscreen will block out a lot of the light pollution. So,
But I don't think people are gonna pull in so that it's gonna sweep through the way you did.
yeah, because you pull in head on, you're shining your lights into his backyard. And I think that those arborvitaes, especially the 3 additional ones, are blocking a lot of that light.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I mean, with the 3 you put up there, the ones you put around the electrical box, the 6 I put in, you know, now it's just a matter of time.
We'll put some miracle grow in it, and I think.
Right, there you go, there you go. But, no, it's definitely better than what it was.
Oh, I'd also like to put this to bed, and I think we all would like to, so that you can get on with the business of it, so. Is everyone satisfied then, that the conditions have been met?
I'm good with that.
All right.
Okay. I also think, Howard, you know, you've always been good about communicating with me, if we have issues, so I'm open to, you know, if other issues pop up, let me know. But I do think this is a good solution.
Yes, I agree with you, Peter, and I think that, you know, the nighttime really doesn't faze me much. Half the time I'm not there anyway in the evening. But the daytime, looking at the parking lot, it was just like, you know, I mean, once I was looking at a field, it wasn't all that bad, but sitting there looking at a parking lot, off your back deck was just, you know, so, but I definitely think that it certainly helps, and I do appreciate that.
Great.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to,
Make a motion that, I'm not sure, is it, oh, that the Tilton School has come with compliance, has met the,
fulfillment of the conditions.
yeah, performed the fulfillment of the condition for the 7/14/15 conditional approval to expand Tilton School's athletic facility.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we your only agenda item tonight?
Yeah.
Workshop.
Oh,
Happy Thanksgiving.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Howard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you let me know if, there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, no, you know what?
All right.
It's really-
Thank God. All right. Dari handed me 1, 2, 3, 20 other things.
Well, you,
No, the first thing, and I think the most important thing, is that it appears that we really need to have an additional meeting in the month of December.
I'm fine with that.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
We have to go to budget every week, so.
We have to go to budget every week.
So one more is not gonna be a problem.
And,
So that'll make it the 22nd.
Budget hog.
the sooner the better, probably.
yeah,
I mean, if we can do it the 3rd week.
What's our,
We have one on the 8th and then one, well, if we want the 2nd and the 4th.
8th and 15th?
But I'm saying if we do the 2nd and the 3rd week,
8 and 15?
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
it's fine with me too.
okay, all right.
Great work. Took your laugh.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Well, then we can leave now.
Yeah, you're on the roll. What you want? This one?
oh, and some of the other things that, one of the things that we really need to do is to look at the email that Dari sent out yesterday, I think,
Is that the simple?
the simple,
Yeah. You
Yeah.
need
I have one.
Well,
Anyone need
I've
one?
got one. I don't need one.
Did everybody have a chance to go
Yes.
through these in detail?
Yes.
I didn't either, but, because I was gone, but
So do these have to go to town meeting, or are these just gonna be public hearing, or?
This would all be, the way these are all zoning, so they all would have to be
Go
voted on at
on
town
to town
meeting.
meeting.
And prior to that, they,
Public hearings.
yeah, there needs to be at least one public hearing.
And there could be two.
Right, and the reason, Chairman Alden and I are proposing the second meeting in December is that, if it goes to if we do need a second public hearing on these, then, it means that in order to allow time for that, we have to have the first public hearing at our first January meeting. And I have some, Chairman Alden, I have a couple handouts. One is proposed meeting schedule for next year that I should get out at some point. Here's another one I'll hand around that has some key deadlines for us. And you've got, as always, some handwritten scribbling of mine on there. Yeah, right. So, I guess I'm handing this out in partly in response to Christine's question of how this is all gonna play out.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll go to town meeting, and indeed, Chairman Alden said there could be two public hearings required before that.
So we need these in before December 9th.
Why?
What's his last day to accept petitions?
It's the
Petitions,
birthday.
yeah, we're not doing
It's
doing
the birthday.
petitions.
No,
That's,
Oh, okay.
if you wanted to, get together with your neighbors and say that, a petition, that's different. The material, the way you guys will be bringing ordinance, or warrant article, whatever, amendments, proposed amendments, will not be through that. Petition.
yeah, they will be ones that Dory writes.
Right.
December 3rd,
With your-
2016?
What's that?
Is this supposed to be 16 or 15?
Oh, it says 16, but it should say
Should be
15.
It made more sense.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
thanks.
Okay, last day to post. Okay.
What I'm keeping in my mind, so I don't get lost in all these different dates, is that our first January meeting has to be our first public hearing on these, where 10 days prior to that, we have a pretty good draft available at Cindy's, and through Cindy and Kim up front.
I mean, this isn't something you have to memorize, but it's something that, yeah,
Oh,
On the fridge.
put on your fridge.
add to the pile.
Something, you don't have to memorize, but you shouldn't lose sight. I'll try not to we can't lose sight.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the simple zoning ordinances and see which of these that we could just go and put in. So the first one,
Change 1 year to 2 year?
yeah,
Do I have to make a motion to do that? I cannot.
Stop
Oh.
sipping it.
no, we just have to approve it, right?
I think, yeah, at
I don't
this
think we have
point,
to make motions to,
Yeah, because to have a public meeting, you
Right.
don't have to.
no.
Cool.
Is there a reason why part of this is underlined, Gary, or is that
um,
just to point it out?
so, I'll sort of, like, the stuff that's in the boxes is my 2 cents. It's not necessarily me who wrote it. Sometimes I'm just pulling an ordinance or, an RSA or
Okay.
something some lawyer wrote.
And it's
In this
just to,
case,
it's to explain to us
yeah,
why this
Okay.
is
right,
being recommended,
yeah.
which I have to say is more than we've gotten in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you, yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it.
Well, it's easy to do, you know, hey, the RSA is this, so you know what, we
Yeah.
don't need to do this.
Right.
Well, okay, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Residential district, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
So, with it, just as an example that jumped in my head, that piece of property that you mentioned earlier in the RC, if they received a variance for that and they didn't implement that within 2 years, then they're done, they would have to come back.
Right.
Or file for an extension, so, further
Oh,
extended.
true, yeah. Yeah, I
And
think-
we've had problems in the past with that because we haven't really had anything.
Hmm.
Also, the RSA says, well, it's further extended by local ordinance, but
Yeah.
if we don't have them,
Oh, yeah,
Vehicle
we
to
didn't list
extend
it,
it.
yeah, we didn't list
Yeah.
extension, yeah.
right. We just said, hey, listen, we want you to show us again why this was a good idea.
Well, that's actually an interesting point. I
Yeah.
suppose, we could say, so I'll read this 11.12.5. A variance not implemented within, let's go with 2 years of the date of the approval or other time period specified in the notice of this. Oh, no,
Yeah, other
shall
times.
automatically expire, and then we could write unless an extension is granted by the zoning board,
Included the zoning board or the planning board?
zoning board.
Zoning board.
Oh, variance, sorry.
Yeah.
Could we couple the extension under other time period specified? They could file an extension, that would be other time.
Well, then it wouldn't be in the notice of decision, though. You could say a variance not implemented within 2 years of the date of the approval or other time specified by the ZBA shall automatically expire.
I'm not sure that's even necessary to add that though,
Okay, yeah,
because I think it's implied
yeah,
that if they're not happy with this, then they can appeal to the zoning board.
Right.
yeah, and, the zoning board could, they could appeal, they could go to the zoning board could, revise its notice of decision, I guess, as long as it happens in a publicly noticed meeting, hearing, yeah. I mean, let's face it, like, what we've got here is addressing, it's bringing us into compliance with the law.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so, yeah,
Okay?
yeah, all right.
So
So do you wanna, sorry,
Go on, Mike.
I was just gonna say, do you wanna just get like a show of hands or something on each one of these? Or just a consensus, just to make sure?
Okay, well, consensus I think is fine.
Okay.
Is everybody
Number one, I'm good.
consent on number one?
Number one's good.
Okay, so everybody's consents on number one.
I already read number two.
No, I've already read number two.
I'm good with number
I'm
two.
good with number two. Is everybody else good with number two?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, yep. There.
I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the history of this.
Read why I changed then.
I have been.
Well,
It's just,
I don't
my eyes are
know,
glazing over, so.
I did ask Joe Plesner about that today,
Yeah.
and he was not sure how it got in there either. And I'm thinking, okay, if Al doesn't know, if Joe doesn't know, then we're going back pretty far, and I don't know, we're gonna find the answer.
I think sometimes things were changed, but only one part was changed and nobody researched where else it might appear.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. I mean, I know that's what's happened, why we have different things in the subdivision regulations from the zoning,
Right.
because no one took the time to double check all the different places it might appear.
I mean, this looks like not a typo, but a special approval, that's what they had originally.
Yeah, but it's a special
Not
exception.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a few
At some
places.
point, maybe approval was the word used instead of exception too, you know, so
I
it's,
don't
right.
know, though. Seems like they meant to say that.
I find it misleading. You know,
who does the approve?
when you send someone to a board, but you don't tell them what they're applying for, you know,
Yeah.
I'm here for my special approval, or, what are you talking
Well, it sounds like people are getting preferential treatment.
Yeah, right.
That's how it sounds
I
to
know,
me.
that too, definitely.
So do we, Eric, are you
Yeah,
happy with that now?
Yeah, the only other question I had is, do we want to define residential districts by, you know, does it leave it, is it too ambiguous?
Or one house or
Um,
10 houses.
You know, I don't know if you want to say in, you know, mixed, you know, village residential, mixed residential.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
I don't see the need, but that's just
And
my
we
own
may already
opinion.
have a definition somewhere, those,
Well, yeah. we
with
do
all these
that.
definitions.
We do.
I mean,
Residential
the main
district.
I probably would have gone right past it, except, it says residentially zoned district, and it needed an S on the end, so once I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be doing anything with this, I like just, what are residentially zoned? I just thought residential districts was easier.
Yeah,
to
because I
comprehend.
think it'd be better to keep it general.
Yeah.
I do
And
too.
into the actual laws.
I guess I was going for more black and white, and, you know, if someone wanted to put a bed and breakfast in rural agriculture, would they?
Well, good point, but I think the charter permitted use is black and white on this, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're on number 3.
I'm just looking.
Are you consensed
Yeah,
on
I'm
that?
good, I just,
Everybody consensed on Sue? Outdoor
this one
lighting.
I think is.
May I circulate it, has anyone seen the email from Kathy Mitchell on this particular?
You gave me this thing.
Right, this is important, this.
No, that's,
Did I give you this yet? Sorry if I didn't.
That makes sense.
I
So we're
can-
just getting rid of it?
Yeah, that was my thought, but I know, when I mentioned it to Catherine Dawson, she said, oh, that's a little much, and Kathy Mitchell definitely thinks it's a lot much. That was my take from her comments.
Well, when I first read this, the first thing that came to me was the New Mexico Night Sky Act, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And it seems to be going against that, where the trend, I don't know if that's the right word, but the tendencies have been, you know, to have less, you know, late night lights.
Mm.
I mean, I can see having some lights, but not, you know, every light at full bore.
Yeah, my thought maybe on this one would be maybe we should hold off on
okay.
yay or nay in this one, I don't know.
Yeah, this
Give you guys a
hold,
chance to read Kathy's email.
Yeah.
Give Catherine a chance, I know Catherine had feelings on it. I'm not I do believe Catherine was planning on being here tonight.
Yeah, actually,
I don't know who's here.
Yeah.
pigs last time. Yeah, I mean, this,
So do you know how many businesses are open after 11? Just
No,
curious.
no, I don't, but I know, that, we've just added two, right? Gas station and Taco
You
Bell.
know, Taco Bell's lights are on 24 hours a day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Middle of the day, they got all their lights on.
yeah.
yeah.
I haven't really big people.
I don't understand about the police department survey that ascertains
Yeah, I
people
mean-
can be found walking the streets.
No.
Yeah, I
What
don't-
does that have to do with parking lot lights?
Right. I think her thought is that, if what I was saying was that Tilton will be a safer place with, parking lots on late at night, I think she was trying to counter that point. And, but I feel that if you've got a business open till past 11 o'clock, and you shut the lights off on the parking lot at 11 o'clock, I see that as a clear problem.
I do as well.
Yeah,
I see both sides of it.
yeah.
Well, what about like something like a car dealership where they may have, you know, they want some lights on in their parking lot at 2 in the morning because someone driving by, you know, they may see someone in their parking lot stealing you know, catalytic converters or something.
No.
Well, I think this gets into things we've talked about in past in terms of signage. We've got some very distinct areas in this town. And do we address that? I think we have an obligation to address that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got exit 20, and you've got a historical area down here, downtown. Plus you've got a bakery at the other, huh?
With a downtown area, it's not a historical district.
Well, this is,
Cell number 3's on hold.
yeah,
Nowhere in-
definitely.
Nowhere in our.
Hold.
It's on hold, yeah, and I guess, Chairman Alden, would you agree that board members should think about it, look at, Kathy's email,
Yeah, because
and,
this email has a lot in it.
yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna hold.
And,
This ABC,
And then maybe to consider, am I sort of following what you're saying properly if I think, like, Chairman Alden, if I say like people should consider maybe not making this blanket and addressing each area of town differently?
definitely not blanket.
Does everybody agree with that
Yes.
concept?
Yes.
Excellent.
So we're just gonna hold that one.
Okay.
But I think that's one that we put off addressing that whole issue for long enough, and I think we need to do something. We'll talk about proactive. That needs to be a proactive move on our part first, after the first year.
Is there something that led up to that one? I mean, is there, again, a history of?
Well, yeah, I discovered it myself. It's not, there wasn't a complaint, and in fact, that's part of, if there were complaints, then I probably wouldn't have proposed this the way I did. That all of a sudden I realized with the gas station and Taco Bell, and then I'm looking at this 11 p.m. and I'm asking Al and other people, hey, is this really happening? Are businesses turning their lights off at 11 p.m.? And the feedback I was getting is no. And so I'm looking, okay, nobody's actually doing this. We potentially have safety issues if we're forcing people to do this. And no one's complaining about lights being on past 11. To me, the simple solution is to get rid of this thing. You know, it's just, it's a non, you shouldn't have regulations that don't offer a public benefit. If there's no public benefit, throw the thing out.
Haven't we in the past done some site plans though, like if it's in a primarily residential area, we ask that they turn them off by a certain time? And
Mhm.
we've done it on a case-by-case basis, that, okay, because it's in this
Boy.
area, you know,
I'll throw myself under the bus on that one.
but even like for insurance down here, we asked them because it's all residences, and they said, yeah, as soon as our
Yeah.
last person's gone, we're cool.
Yeah.
They have the side building light for security, and I think we've kind of done this already
Yeah.
to, on a case by case,
Mhm.
so that we don't end up with the mess we have on Grant Street again.
Right. Chairman Alden, I wasn't clear, do you feel like as a board you guys are tabling this for the year or just for tonight? Because I do feel
What, the
especially-
lighting?
Yeah, I do feel like if we're having enough, if we do wind up having the second December meeting that everyone's okay with having, we might be able to get this tailored to how we want it. So I can see it going either way. So I don't know on that.
Well, let's put it, if we do it at the second December, at the third December meeting, let's put it at the very end. See
Okay.
how we go, because we might get tied up with the things that have to be done.
Yeah, okay,
Okay?
all right, awesome.
Floor.
Except not.
This is a good deal.
Perfect example is the house down the road from you, down the street from you, Eric, on High Street.
The one that's being built? Yeah, that's why this is, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I decided this was a
And that's the
priority.
biggest eyesore I've ever seen in this town. I can't tell you the number of people who've said to me, what is it, what the planning board? I said, never came to the planning board.
Yeah, right, it's residents. No site plan review on those.
No.
That one down by the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we have minimum lot sizes?
Talk to the code enforcement officer.
I try not to. Yes, that's on tape, I don't care.
Well, I mean, to me, that is just blatant example
Waste of,
of problems.
what was that?
I've had people ask what's gonna happen when it goes into the brook.
Well,
We'll just go.
Yeah,
Environmental people.
Hmm?
yeah, houseboat.
Well, and the other thing,
Encouraging Christie.
you've got different parts of town where the roads are measured different ways. Because
Yeah.
we got onto the Grange Road where they're using turn of the century measurements.
definitely,
Rods.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's gotta be something, yeah, right. I mean, you have so many different scenarios, well, you have multiple scenarios. You've got the scenario where, Joe and I were talking about today, where his property essentially goes right beneath the road. And there's no separate ownership. The road is an easement or right of way, no, it's an easement. Excuse me, sorry about that.
Chicken.
You're gonna
And,
turn that off?
what's that?
You're gonna turn that off?
I thought I did. And then you've got another example is on 140, where not only is there clear ownership of the road, but the state owns quite a bit of land on the sides of the road. So if you look at the language of this addresses both of them. For the Joe scenario, it says, okay, well if your parcel boundary is somewhere under the road, and you start measuring from that point, then you might not even make it out. You might still be in the road after you've gotten out of the setback. So we can't have that. So in that case, we go to the edge of the pavement and you measure back. In the case where at 140, like with the Kia dealership that recently went in, they're not measuring from the side of the road. They're measuring from the side of their parcel boundary because, as it says here, that's the more restrictive. That pushes them back further.
Can we consent on this, or?
Yeah.
So really, the big change on this is the italics,
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Throughout, italics,
right? I just forgot the little code.
okay, yeah.
Sorry, I think that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, consent on that.
Incensed.
sensed.
I think that's a really important, thank you.
Thank you,
another one,
yeah,
number
yep,
five.
thank you, yes, I agree.
Number 5.
It is set down to death.
It's, yeah, texting me just to be sure.
Get this thing silenced one way or another.
I totally believe that.
I got a baby.
She's out of eggnog.
Anybody have any comments about this? Because I think Dari's explanation for why the change is very good, and I think we're all aware of situations where it came up.
No,
I'm good.
Consent?
I have a question about that, and I don't know if this ties into that, because I think I know which this is, we got already to, but it's up on Route 3.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't we have asked them to compromise to share the sign? Or is that create the off-premise
I
signage
think-
issue?
Yeah, I did suggest that, and I believe they had discussions, in that direction, but they weren't fruitful.
Because I'm seeing it now, it's ugly. It's,
Yeah.
it
Sure.
really is, and it's like, it just didn't,
Yep.
you know, and I mean, yeah, I know there's a thing about off-premise signage and things like that, but I think in this case, the zoning board would have, you know, seen that it actually would have been an improvement
I agree.
to the area, but now you're gonna have a sign that's basically on a piece of plywood,
Yeah,
and then you're gonna have next to it a beautiful electronic sign, you know, and
yeah,
so I wasn't sure how that resolved itself, and now I see it, because they put the pole in,
Yeah.
yeah,
so.
okay. Consent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sign, so this was based on the Supreme Court?
Yeah, and I would have to say, I probably wouldn't even, I probably would like to take another crack at this myself, honestly. Particularly where this is just, some of this stuff was, I really didn't have time to do anything other than kind of pull it from my recollection of a session that I attended a couple weeks back. So, for example, in my italics, the second sentence, such events shall include but not be limited to political election, the sale, lease, or rent of the property upon which the sign is located, or a cultural, spiritual, or sporting event. I don't know if that's the best language to be using.
So you want us to wait on this one then?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I
I
think maybe
mean,
we
we
should.
do have to change this because of the Supreme Court
Right.
ruling.
I think that Attorney Crean has offered to help. I'm not assuming that's for free, but I think there are some resources, maybe there are some free resources that I could, with a little bit more time, I think I could make this look a lot better. Again, I think this is something, like Chairman, it is something we need to do this year, but maybe we have our December 8th meeting with two cases. But potentially, those cases, if they don't go too long, maybe we could spend a little bit of time on this at the December 8th meeting.
Okay.
I have a question on this. So it says temporary signage erected in connection, blah, blah, blah. Is that all these little nail signs and all that? Those are temporary signs, so
Right.
those would be allowed now.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of why I need to put more thought into it. I mean, what does this mean? Does this mean
Right.
like anyone? It doesn't, the thing I think here is that it doesn't allow for off-premises signage. And so, I'm kind of confusing myself. I need to work more on this.
So
Like,
why don't we
I even thought the webinar that we saw was confusing.
it is a little bit, right. And like, someone brought up the point, well, how can off-premise signage be illegal, or how can you regulate that if in fact you need to read the sign to determine that it's off-premise? So it's like, they try and make it simple, and I tried to carry that simple language. This means that generally you shouldn't have to actually read and comprehend the words on the sign to determine whether it is legal, but that's the really simple way to look at it, but when you start to get into it, you realize you can't do that.
Right.
Anybody could put almost anything anywhere, and they can say, well, if you wouldn't have read it, you wouldn't have known that it was illegal. So
Well, Dan Crean basically said in the selectmen's meeting that it was going, well, actually, I think you were there, so it must not have been a selectmen's meeting. He said it was gonna make our whole sign ordinance illegal.
oh, yeah, I don't know if I was there when he said that.
Well, he made that
Okay.
statement, I was there when he
Okay.
made that
He
statement.
Okay.
came to the select board meeting and to talk about this, or?
No, he came to the select board
Something else.
meeting because of the Belmont,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay? Because he was hired to,
right. And then he
Represented
mentioned
that,
this. Okay.
and he said in that meeting, the Supreme Court has just made a ruling,
No.
and there will be, I signed up for it, Dari did, I don't know who else did for a webinar that was on this.
Mhm.
But it was even confusing, I thought.
Yeah.
So what happened that preempted this ruling? Something happened?
It was a church,
Right, a church in Arizona, was it? New Mexico, somewhere, one of those.
Arizona.
Okay, they don't have like a building, like, every Sunday we meet at this building. Every Sunday was a different location. So they needed to do those kind of signs in the intersections that say, hey, this week we're meeting here. And that was key to them drawing participation, bringing their worshipers in. And I don't know exactly what the
Freedom of speech.
municipal, I was gonna say, I don't know what the exact language it was in the municipal ordinance that, sort of, aggrieved them, but, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme
The
Court.
ACLU, I believe, took it to the Supreme Court,
Oh, okay,
and it was freedom of speech.
okay.
Right, okay.
And it's, basically, if there's different levels of judicial review, and that if your sign ordinance is not content neutral, then you're subject to this very high level of judicial review referred to as strict scrutiny. And it puts the town in a position where if you're being evaluated under strict scrutiny, it's really hard to be legal. So rather than try and walk that ridiculously, that tightrope, the way towns need to deal with it is to get out of that level of judicial review.
But it went further, because the RSA is gonna have to be rewritten too, at the state level.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
So, I mean, can't we borrow some language from that, like the
Yeah,
states?
there was a model ordinance handed out, in like the morning of this session. I've got some materials, I just simply have not had time to go through them. That's,
Right.
and I wanted to get something on here so that we can start talking about it.
So you can have this done by the, okay.
I'll see what I can do by the
Alright.
meeting on the 8th, and certainly if we don't get to it on the 8th, it'll.
But look at
definitely
the
be-
implications for the RSA too,
Okay, all right.
okay? All right, so we've got the additional meeting in December we're gonna do. We've gone the list of these zoning. New schedule we've done, right?
I handed it out, yeah, if
Yeah.
folks could just look at it, it seems like, most years I screw up, well, I guess I've only done 1 year's worth, I think, the first year I was here, we had a meeting on Veterans Day, not my fault, I didn't make that schedule. We canceled that last year, I think I had a meeting on Election Day or something.
We don't have it,
I don't have it.
What?
not the meeting.
I'm looking everywhere going, I
Sorry.
don't have it either.
Sorry.
I got like 3 pieces of paper.
Yeah,
I
just-
saw
just-
this.
Well, I thought I had it, I thought I had it, but what I have is the old one.
They look
Back
like
to
that.
this.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, yeah, not that count, sorry. So yeah, just simply see if I got it right, if you have a chance. Or if there's some, if one of those falls on one of your birthdays.
Isn't 12/13 a Sunday next year?
Oh, see, nice.
Jeez.
It's a leap year next year.
Wow.
Well, because
It's a leap year next year. No, it's not, it's a Tuesday.
it's a Tuesday.
It's a leap year next year.
You are
Yeah.
bad.
What
Because
did you
there's only
say?
Saturday this year.
What'd you say?
Go
She
and
said
look at
it's
the dates.
December 13th, isn't that a Sunday?
Oh.
I believe you. When you guys tell me things, I believe you.
I didn't know it was a leap year.
Oh.
Have to look for
Yeah, well,
I won't be
look
here
at that.
June 14th.
Why? Could we have a note for the other
That's Flag
He's in
Day.
California.
person? Hey, she knows how.
Well, then
It's my
you should be
anniversary,
here.
so I won't be here.
It's Flag Day. You
I won't
gotta
be
be here.
Won't be here.
Well, that's Bike Week too, isn't it?
That's why I like my anniversary. It's Father's Day, it's a bike week, all week.
All right, is everything okay? I'm,
Yeah, I think it was.
I think, but I'm not
whatever, I mean, yeah, sometime before,
I'm just
I'm not
looking
gonna
at
look
this.
up all the
They
dates.
didn't-
Oh,
I mean, I just-
April
a
19th.
saying there on
Yeah,
this
Eric's on the
didn't-
computer, he's got it.
I'm just looking,
you guys can email me if you see an error or something, I wouldn't put you on the spot, yeah.
Just don't
right.
believe everything Judy sends you.
We don't have to fact check.
May 10th is a state holiday in both North Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh, see?
Oh,
It's
darn.
also
So
primary
don't
election
move.
day in West Virginia.
Can
All
you
right.
look up some more interesting holidays?
The schedule we will look at,
All right, yeah, we'll review it. I think this dark light skies.
June 14th is Flag Day, is that considered a holiday?
Yeah, I don't know, Chairman Alden,
It's her
guys,
birthday.
what do you think
What?
about that? Flag Day, that's not, is that?
no, I was kidding.
Well, I know, I knew you were kidding about that, I just wanted to make sure we didn't, I didn't, okay.
It is Flag Day.
Right, I knew you, yeah,
I'm
gotcha.
offended now that you question that.
I'm offended
It's on
that you're
record.
offended.
Go to the Supreme Court. Call the ACLU, call the ACLU. There are two things that we've talked about, well, one we've talked about, and talked about changing the whole dwelling unit density.
Yeah, we had homework, didn't we?
We had homework on that, yes. That's a pretty complex issue, and it really requires a lot more homework than we
And people,
have done.
okay.
So it's recommended that we hold off to work on that till next year.
Oh, next year?
That makes sense.
It says Catherine wants to.
Well, yeah, it's a big issue, but I think it's not just, I mean, even if Catherine was gonna be here the next, all of December's meetings, which we don't know, I just think that it's too big for us to tackle this year. And the other thing that was brought up by Dari tonight, and I think it's a very good issue, the people who are in RC, resort commercial. Example,
Yeah.
The blue,
yeah, blue.
I can see far away.
You've got two of them, you got
Yeah.
this one, and this really is, this is waterfront, and there's another one here.
It's not waterfront.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's water there though, so
I
that.
wonder what the reasoning
Not
is,
town
was
water.
behind that.
And one of the things people have brought up to Dari is that to have that RC, this big one down here, an example of whose property is on there is Jerry Shaley's country club, and across from it. He's completely restricted on what he can do. He had it rented as a snow dump this past year. And is that really meeting the needs of our residents? Is that how we want that to be categorized?
Right, he came in and got the exception for the snow dump, why couldn't he come in and get the
Well,
exception
but-
for?
He did his job.
Why should he have to? I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
Should that be,
Well, I think that, I mean, if you take it that, if you use that property, I would have a concern because while it may not be waterfront, it is water view, and I think that that's something that we want to look at protecting as well to some degree. I mean,
It's also wetlands too.
But look at his neighbors, look at the abutting properties there, I mean, you own property there, you own a vacant piece of property in that stretch of town. You've got neighbors with condominium communities, you've got car dealers.
concrete companies?
All sorts of
Right,
stuff, and you can't do any of it. You know, you're not allowed to do any of that stuff.
but you're always gonna have someone that's gonna abut some type of zone so that they.
I think it's more, no, people right in your zone. People right in your zone who've got these there's all kinds of non-conforming uses in there. So, and it's not valuable resort property. It's not like, you know, multi-million-dollar homes are gonna be going up on these. So, I think, yes, you do always have that issue where someone could point to a nearby neighbor and say, why does he get to do that and not me? But in this case, it's more relevant. You know, the argument has merit.
We should look at not look at the label resort and just look at the zone and the restrictions and what effect realistically it's had, instead of like thinking of it as a resort area or not.
Well, we have to be really conscientious, because years ago, the mixed use all down around Chili's, down through there, was commercial. Then it got changed, and some people that had businesses there got in trouble, because now they're in a mixed use and they no longer qualified for their business. The one gentleman in particular, so then he had to run an illegal business for years. So we have to really be conscientious of what's already in the zone, and that we're not creating problems
No,
changing zoning. And there was never even notice on that, that just happened, and it was not a good situation. We did a disservice to our residents on that one.
Do you think this is a bigger issue than the dwelling unit thing? Which one would you do first? Because this seems actually more, I don't know.
It could potentially involve both if someone's gonna put housing on it.
True.
I don't know, to do both of them separately.
I mean, what that was
What do you guys think?
potentially classified to.
Yeah.
Putting it field waste centers, now they're involved in
Well, and it'll be interesting, because Catherine, that's what Catherine's property is too, isn't it?
True, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure she'd have some input into that,
Yeah, and I think.
good input into it.
I brought it up at our staff meeting, week ago. Catherine was in attendance, and yeah, she was really interested in having the board tackle that at some point.
I think it's a good move to tackle it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, because like, would you want that piece that, I mean, it goes way up into the middle of MR, would you wanna change?
Well, if I were king, and I got to do exactly
Could you,
what
I
I
mean,
want
could you,
right
could you
now.
subdivide it in multiple ways?
Yeah, I would say everything touching, the vast majority of this is touching Route 3. It's only these that aren't. I would say all of these RCs that are touching Route 3 make them mixed use, and make these medium the other few, throw them into the medium residential.
Yeah, it's awesome over there.
Done.
Why did they
Hear ye,
put
hear ye.
Well, it makes sense,
resorts
I
all the
mean,
way up there?
it makes sense, and I don't know the history
Oh,
behind why it was done that way originally, does anybody?
Oh,
Judy, do you have any idea?
No,
Eric was saying.
none at all, quite honest. Since you inquired.
Well, wasn't there at one time a proposal to put a hotel across from the golf course, and maybe that has something to do with it?
Oh.
Yes, there was, and that's good, good. Thank you.
I mean, when was the last time that all this was changed?
I don't know.
Because I mean, that being a hotel is, since I've been in town, that's only 15 years.
Hmm.
Well, Jerry Shaley owned that property then, though.
Wasn't he the one that wanted to do the hotel?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
That's what I
I think it was, yeah, he wanted to put a hotel, but then there was it had something to do with the railroad crossing, and you couldn't get water access. And
Well, see, that's the problem with a lot of pieces of property down in that area. is
Well, you got MR, you got the residential that, you know, kind of is sandwiched in between, I'm gonna assume almost the railroad tracks and the lake. I mean, it's just sandwiched in there.
Yeah. Okay, so those,
Interesting.
That'll be discussed.
and it will be very interesting next year,
Oh, next year.
yeah.
Next
Because it's
year,
gonna
next
be,
year.
well, it's gonna be complex and very time consuming.
I'm sure it would have some type of tax effect too on
True. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
there's a financial impact to all those property
Yeah.
owners.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to change zoning on a piece of property,
It is. Yeah.
you know.
It's a lot. The noticing is
Next.
you got to notify
Oh.
Everybody.
You know, a lot of notices.
By the way,
That's gonna be-
Raven's Roost will end in,
I think so.
Yes, what?
It's for sale, I don't
Yeah,
think.
the building's empty.
Oh,
it's
the
been for
building.
sale for a long time now, I think.
It's not like a
No.
big shop.
What's her name, the woman that owns it?
Tracy.
Not Raven's Roost, the building.
Oh,
DeBraccio.
Is that who owns it?
DeBraccio's ex-wife, what's her name? The ex-DeBraccio.
yeah. I can certainly get it.
Well, I
for
used
you.
to know, I just can't remember it right now.
And you wanted to, is there a reason?
Did you want me to get you the name right now?
No,
Okay.
no, no, I just,
I can't think of it.
Did you go in there?
no, it's been, what made me think about it was because we started talking about people, your neighbors do such and such, and that's always been a big
right.
issue. No one, you know, because across the street they can do this, that, and the other, but
True.
right on that side they can't.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And the only reason you can give them is, well, you gotta have a line somewhere. That-
That's true.
Well,
It's kinda
that's,
true though.
and it is the
Yeah.
It's,
yeah,
Yeah, that
and
is,
that's, but there's that property, so that nobody can do anything with.
right.
And it was through D-Roy's for so many years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's the extra list you gave me, I think we've taken care of that.
Yeah, the only thing, I guess we haven't gone over is the wetlands ordinance, but that's, you know, that's kind of, something that we have brought up so far, so we've kind of brought ourselves up to the same point on everything. So yeah, that would be the list.
Okay,
So are we discussing wetlands next year or next meeting?
Next,
next
Next
meeting.
meeting.
Next,
Wait.
next year? I thought it was next year.
next meeting, I
Next
think,
meeting.
I think
Oh, okay.
wetlands,
All right.
because I
Well,
think,
then I can put that as,
I mean, I guess it a lot
I'm
depends.
getting confused.
My, Chairman Alden, may I ask for just a little bit of feedback on whether people have had a chance to review it and what the general thoughts are of people wanting to go forward with it this year?
I see.
should we at least get one thing done, maybe? I don't know.
What?
Maybe we can get it done.
Yeah,
Get
let's
one
do
thing
things
done.
Let's do the one, yeah,
So, you wanna do the
The
wetlands this
wetlands,
year?
yes.
yes.
And, okay,
Everybody else does.
but how are you, I agree, how do you feel about the, what I handed out? Did you get a chance to go
Right.
through it?
Two handouts.
Yeah,
So,
I did.
We had them.
um,
So here's,
I mean, I don't, again, I think what the plan was for you guys to take a look at this, compare it to what's on the books in Tilton now, and see if this satisfies. My attempt was to bring something to you that did incorporate the things we've been discussing over the past
yeah,
session, so it shouldn't, I'm hoping that it, you know, you're not gonna find, oh, hey, this is missing a lot of the stuff that we wanted to keep.
no, I didn't think that it did.
Okay.
Well, when we talked about it, we said remove special provisions.
I think what I had said on that was to
Questioning
consider,
removing it, yeah.
consider removing it, yeah. So that, yeah, I mean, if you guys
To look
wanna,
at non-conforming,
right, to see if that, the note I had on that, was to, I think, see if it's okay to remove this and just rely on the non-conforming uses section that's already in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah,
And if maybe, yeah, to see if we can go that route. But I mean, if you guys wanna take them just, you know, another little bit of time to go through this and talk about it at a future meeting, if you feel like it's in good enough shape that we don't need, you know, you don't wanna assign me some immediate work on this, then I'm okay with that.
I think it's
yeah,
in good
next
enough
meeting.
shape,
Okay, all right.
okay? All right, minutes,
Here we go.
what?
I actually found a lot of mistakes.
Oh, sorry.
Not a lot. 4 or 5.
Briefly look over them, and see if anybody else can find a lot of mistakes. I found that everybody in town knows about that, by the way.
That he makes them all mistakes.
Hmm?
The address, I mean?
Who's about what?
The Mexican restaurant.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
He makes it.
I'm here for it.
That's all because you put it on Facebook.
Anybody find any glaring mistakes?
Do you want me to go through what I have? They're,
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're,
let's
they're
start.
all grammatical. It's like, okay, under others present, it's almost a waste of time, so I'll just fly through it. Marcus O. quote Neil.
Oh,
you know.
God, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. Second page, the first line, there should be an accompanying explanation for why it has been categorized as such. I should have added been. Second paragraph on the planning board workshop section, just a little bit down on the page. The second to last sentence, Mr. Sasan, it's a long sentence, I'll just cut to the middle of it. Might be best to stick with one checklist and allow the applicant to propose what, get rid of are, what elements are non-applicable. The last line of page 2, Chairman Alden asked board members if they agreed that the forestry language, I should have inserted the word should be removed. Page 3, the second full paragraph, third paragraph, Mr. Sasan asked the board, not he board, to consider. Keep going. Board members indicated that they would review the draft ordinance and be prepared to discuss it at the next meeting, not at the next meeting, and that's it.
Wow, Darren.
Yep.
You want, when I read things like this, I just read right over
Oh,
those
me
and I don't
too.
even pay any attention to them.
I had to go
Yeah.
like sentence by sentence in order to get myself
Yeah.
to hone in on it, yeah.
You're gonna hate me for this, but do you
Okay.
know that, do you know that there's not, you don't double space after a period anymore? It hasn't been that way.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm just,
I prefer double space, so.
Yeah, I
prefer
actually
double
like, I
spaced.
like the look
Back
of
in
it.
the day, that's all
I,
I
um,
did, so.
yeah,
When I first started with the Office of Energy and Planning in Concord, my supervisor had this thing about double spacing after periods, and
like,
I would
they
like,
had to double
the
space? or
first
they-
week, yeah, the first week I worked there, I was like assembled this like massive list of like websites and like printouts from people saying, no, you don't double space after period, that's the old way of
Yes,
doing it, that's from the
right.
typewriter days. But I said, you know what, forget it, I'm not gonna spend,
Who cares?
I'm not gonna argue with the lady. So I started doing it her way, and now I'm hooked on it, so anyway, yes.
Whoa,
Who
so
notices?
you changed to the right way and then you went back?
Who notices?
No, I always used to do it
I
the way.
notice it now,
She
and I
knows.
hate it, I hate looking at it. 'Cause I
Why?
know it's wrong, it just bugs me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cause I think of it, every time I type a
Get
sentence.
alive.
I can't, I'm trying not to think about double spacing, but I am.
Yeah.
Well, I know, every
She's
time,
yelling.
there's certain
It's
words,
so funny.
there's certain words that
you don't know her.
really bug me.
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
And then
doesn't
they're
bother
used
me.
so much that they change it so that it's now acceptable.
Right,
And I've said if they ever say that irregardless is acceptable, I quit.
right, right.
Right.
No, but they do. They're, you know, things you would never use in the past.
So does she make you double space even after you presented your case?
No, I decided not to present my case because I didn't want to spend my first few weeks at my new job arguing with my supervisor over something that didn't matter. So I said, I'll just go with it. And then
Yeah.
it became a habit, so.
Moving
doesn't
right
bother you?
along.
Doesn't bother you too?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. No correspondence?
Nope.
I had noticed conditions for driveway construction, did we already finalize that?
So we did when I was looking.
That's
No, I
Okay.
just found it. Right there.
It says board members agreed to review the document.
Yeah, my, can I?
Yeah.
Sorry. I had requested to Chairman Alden that we maybe not get into that we focus on zoning, because we have a
Okay.
deadline for zoning, we don't have a deadline for other
So
regulatory
next
stuff.
year?
Whenever it's, soon.
Just
Just
season
me.
anymore anyways.
Early?
I don't think there was that much in,
February.
was there that much in there?
Before the spring.
Secretary should be keeping track of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to have a
You
turkey
guys have
day.
bored me about the period. And
Make a motion to go out turkey on Thursday.
Second.
Because whenever you are when you eat.
Gobble, gobble,
I'm fine with that.
No one seconded it.
Adjourn.
Totally.
Okay. Anyone second?
Adjourn. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's what I was doing.
Sorry, opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah, better go. Thank you.
Ours
Yeah,
are 2 days
so-
off this week.
My daughter just
Right.
realized that
Huh?
she can go to the
Right.
website.
Fred?
When you give me
My
your
granddaughter would have
friend,
been
I
going
can't
to
do
school
it.
last
Oh,
night.
yeah.
I don't know, until she
What's
looked
that
at
one?
the calendar, because I'm in charge tomorrow now
Just kidding.
at school. And she said, oh, and this is.
There's